Tonight, we review the eye rolls of Pam Bondi staffers. Tonight, we send our condolences to the victims of the Epstein file release and recognize the pain and suffering of the CEOs forced to resign from their positions amidst something the president has called a Democratic hoax. Later in the evening, should socially awkward kids bring their parents on job interviews? We talk to the employment specialist on their trend of interviewing parents about their very nice boys. Tonight, fallout from when masculine men's nipples hurt too much has scientists wondering if some men shouldn't transition. Later tonight, we explore how to speak to loved ones about their puffy nipples. Tonight, we interview Obama on whether aliens made contact with his asshole, with some wondering if his Chicago building is a way of getting them back. In other rectal news, French authorities remind locals to be careful what they shove up their ass, reminding everyone that there's now an internet and you don't have to forage for random objects to put up your butt. And can probably just use Grindr, but if you prefer to pretend you're straight and go for inanimate objects, there's plenty of websites online that cater to this kind of experience, including Rabbi Shmuley's, where you can enjoy items he's carefully curated with his daughter.
Okay, here we go. That now we should have audio. Can everyone hear me? We got audio now? Unbelievable. Anyways, is that coming through now? Can someone say audio on? It's perfect timing because I was talking about the good and bad side of ADD. So we can restart the episode. It's nice to have everybody here. Welcome. Going to be a shorter than usual episode, which is mostly because I did 3 podcasts last week, and then I went on a bit of a tear. I decided I had the best time up at the Shell. It was an incredible night. Comedy was really grooving. I was doing all my stuff, and then I did a presentation on FBI entrapment schemes, which for 3 days I got entirely obsessed on the topic. I was on the phone calls with Scott Horton. I was listening to audiobooks on triple speed, and I will be keeping that for Porch Tour and going to keep on working on it. But sometimes the first take on things I find are the most interesting, and some of the jokes that work the first time die on you. Some of the concepts that you thought were real interesting, you realize you don't know how to make them funny. So some of the heart and the soul almost disappears of it as you edit it out and go more for humor. And so I will probably be putting up the first 10 minutes on my website because also in true ADD fashion, I packed up all my gear and forgot to charge the battery on the camera. So I only got the first 10 minutes. If I got in the whole thing, I'd probably just put it out and be done with it and be like, all right, that was a fun one-time shot. But anyways, had a great weekend last weekend doing comedy up the Shell. It was also, I did the show on Friday night in New York City, and I love getting up in New York City. There were maybe 30 people in the audience. You get to do a shorter set. It's very relaxing in that, it's not as nerve-wracking when you're headlining and you sold all your tickets and you're like, man, I really gotta do good tonight because all these people paid to see me. When you got a 10-minute guest spot on a city thing, you're a little bit more like, all right, I can just have fun. But then the other side of the headlining is that I had all these Epstein jokes I knew I couldn't do in New York City, and then it's more fun to be able to hone into exactly what you want to do, and the fans know that you're just kidding, and that even though you're on stage telling jokes, they don't decide that you're serious or that you have a mean perspective and then turn on you. So, anyways, I had the best time at the Shell, and then this weekend, part of my show with Dave Smith is already sold out Saturday night, but I will be opening for Sam Tripoli and Eddie Bravo on Friday night. If you guys are out in the Maryland area, those guys put on an incredible show. It's always fun when I get to hang out with them, and I'm a big fan of the Fifth Company Brewery. They do have some delicious beers, and then I'm looking forward to doing Tim Pool Thursday night. You know, maybe this is the big moment. Maybe I go on Tim Pool, get some good chuckles out, and this is the year of Run Your Mouth. Or not. We'll see how it goes. But anyways, I appreciated the invite, and I'm excited to do it. So shorter show today, and let's get into it. Let's start with Pam Bondi off the bat because guys, it's over. They put out everything they got. Nothing more to see here. The government did a thorough investigation. We thoroughly took all of our time. We read through all the files. We did our best to sift through it. We got rid of all the stuff that was privileged information, which I'm sure there's going to be a fight about that down the line. I think there's 200,000 pages that weren't released because they are privileged information. Then there was a whole bunch of other stuff that got redacted, supposedly because it thwarts ongoing investigations. And then, of course, you got all the redactions that were in the documents that we actually got to see. My personal view at this point is I'm going to let the internet do its homework. I'm already at a place where I can't open up Twitter because I am usually scroll while I'm eating food, and they just keep telling me about how they're eating human meat. And maybe that's how I end up losing weight, is you scroll Twitter now while you're trying to eat, and you're like, you know what? This is like Ozempic. I'm nauseous. I feel older. My soul has evaporated. I've lost my will to live. I don't have the same energy levels that I used to have, but hey, I'm a little bit thinner. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm waiting for the internet to hopefully work its magic. Maybe someone actually hacks all the files, makes them available, and then magically, censors everything that you don't actually want to see. It's even creepy. They made that like jefftube.com, which is an exact YouTube duplicate that has all the videos that were made public so you can more easily view it. And at first you're like, oh, I'm going to muck crack this thing. And then you're instantly like, I don't even want to be here. I know there's boxes on stuff, but like, I don't even want to. So, hopefully somebody else sifts through all the information. They hold Michael Tracy completely accountable for saying nothing to see her, folks. Hey, you know what? And on that note, the idea of, well, there's no evidence here. There's no direct evidence. We're evidence-based people, and unless we actually saw something to support these claims, yet they didn't give us the evidence. It's a little bit like, listen, we didn't buy into the COVID racket. We all know that Fauci was a bad guy, but they never investigated Fauci, and so we don't know how bad Fauci actually was. Was Fauci some dumbass, and he really enjoyed the power of making grand proclamations, and every single time someone was coming with him with information that his grand proclamations were inaccurate, he just had to double down and lie through his teeth so that he could keep that precious power that he had? Or was he working with pharmaceutical companies, and he wanted to make sure that they could get those sales? Was he working with even more nefarious actors that wanted to lock us all up in our homes and maybe indefinitely? Here's the thing. We'll never know because they never decided to investigate him. And Trump and Biden gave him a preemptive pardon. And what I was calling for back in the day was prosecute Fauci, which is I wanted a real investigation into the guy and to hold him criminally accountable for what he did. And government wasn't interested in doing that because government protects government. Trump himself, was a big, greatest vaccine ever. Operation Warp Speed. No one's gotten more vaccines to more people quicker than I did. A little bit like the Epstein thing. Maybe his name's just appeared enough in that thing. He didn't want nothing to do with it. And so he instantly said, oh, I'm going to get you all that information. Found out his name was in and went, nothing to see, Democratic hoax. But the point is, they don't keep, they're pretty good. Government's bad at a lot of things. They're pretty good on the legal side. They're pretty good at covering their asses, making sure that they always made vague statements. They do a lot of things really bad, but look at the FBI's track record when they're actually looking to prosecute cases. They win a lot of those cases, and they aren't found guilty all that often. They're pretty good on the legal side. And so for anyone who looks at all the information here and go, well, there's no smoking gun evidence, so you guys are just making wild No, we're saying that government protects itself, And so, yeah, they're not handing us the smoking gun. It was in the safe that they took out of Epstein's apartment and then magically lost. And all the little drip drops of information should just pique your interest more. That's what it should do. You know, we were just a couple of years ago, we were just going, hey, it doesn't look like he killed himself. Then we get Kash Patel and Dan Bongino going, oh, I saw it. And then they come out with the video that's got, what, it had that missing minute. And now there's even an FBI report of a second van and then bringing orange, like everyone noticed that orange in the background and that one little freeze frame. And then magically, oh, that was because they collected a bunch of stuff to try and deke out the news. Oh, and they pulled the hard drive. But then some people look at this and go, well, there's no smoking gun. Yeah, because they're not going to give us the smoking gun. And they're not seemingly zero interest in actually investigating this and putting the thing to rest. And what's promising for all of us is that we all understand that there is a deep state apparatus. And to me, the deep state apparatus is just all the branches of government that don't work in our interest. And so that could be the pharmaceutical lobby and keeping, you know, things that might actually benefit your health unknown to you, while working the government system to try and make their chemicals and products as available and as marketed as they can. It could be the big banks ensuring that the Federal Reserve continues to exist so that they can get bailouts and continue to run their racket. It's the military-industrial complex. It's the CIA. All these branches of power want to remain in power, and we don't think that the voting public just votes in officials, and then officials do the will of the American people and make good on their campaign promises. We understand that there's a system in place that ensures that those with power can continue to have power. And also, as I've said before, the elites don't like to compete. And so they're creating rackets by which they benefit from the government apparatus. They're able to be a parasite, and it's at all of our expenses. And what's exciting about this Epstein storyline is that most people that just think that you're a conspiratorial nut, if you don't believe in this honest institution of the United States government and that it represents the American people and that our voting democracy is the most noble system that's ever existed because every single American gets a say in who their elected officials are, and then their elected officials are going to represent them. Remember how conspiratorial you were even just a year ago? If you're trying to suggest that these people don't actually represent us, if a year ago, 2 years ago, you were going, hey, this COVID thing's an entire racket, and they're just trying to keep us locked up in our homes and take power, maybe even try and make these digital vaccine cards so that they know where you are at all times. We all know what they tried to do. And what's nice about this Epstein storyline is that even your common person just realizes, hey, something happened here. Hey, this looks bad. This looks like maybe they're using blackmail on the politicians to ensure that they're keeping to a certain agenda, or that there's certain branches of power that just get a free pass. And why is my government not interested in looking into this at all? And so for anyone of an opinion that we need a clean up government, isn't excited by this storyline and the demands of the American people. And then here's what's interesting. If the thing actually gets investigated and muck cracked, the more evil the storyline turns out to be, the more you're going to have common people being like, oh man, fuck this government. Why do I even have this in my life? Why do these power structures exist? And anyone that's looking at this thing and just going, well, there's no direct evidence, so let's just move on. This is outrageous. You know, I think they're playing their cards on what team they're playing for, and that's for the people in power. All right, well, listen, I said it was going to be a short episode, and then I just talked for 15 minutes straight. But let's take some comments. I just bought a new laptop, so you know, with a very good graphics card and whatnot. So hopefully, we'll have even less tech problems. But anyways, we can. I actually don't have my normal screen set up here. There's a problem with StreamYard, so that's why I didn't previously read comments, but let's take some comments. What do we got here? That's funny. I'll read that from Slav. I'll respect that comment. Chosen people for everything but audio perfection. Accurate. We have all the ADD issues on the show all the time. And, you know, for a long time in my life, I thought I was an idiot because I didn't realize I had ADD and I'd have all these errors all the time. And I was convinced that I was literally a retarded person. And now that I'm 37, I've learned you don't beat your ADD. And so, you know, there's no reason to get that mad about it. It just kind of is what it is. John Popick. Damn it, Robbie. I come back and we have audio issues. It's like I never left. Yeah, there you go. All right. Kaz 3 something. I thought I was going crazy and reset all my stuff. John Popick, Timcast. Hell yeah, brother. Big time. Yeah, looking forward to it. Robbie, wear a beanie, then take it off as an icebreaker. Or maybe I should bring a nice beanie as a gift. I'm going to go in there very appreciative for for them having me on, and I have no plans of being feisty or poking fun or making jokes or anything like that. They're a much bigger platform. They are nice to be having me on, and I look forward to doing it. Robbie the Fire stock is rising from what I heard. Now we potentially wait for the meme coin. Yeah, we're going Hawk 2 over here. The second we get a little bit of success, we're going to cash in on one good fleecing of the fans and then retire to oblivion. All right. John something. Rob's schedule is more consistent than part of the problem. That's probably not accurate, but I get what you're saying. Gorilla Feet. Easy, Rob. Michael Tracy is going to come after you. LOL. That's okay. I don't really mind. All right, let's get back into what I was talking about, and I'll take comments between the sections because with the current setup, I can't really see them live. Is what it is. All right, so the official narrative at this point is basically trying to cool the Epstein fire, and so Pam Bondi came out and said, that's a wrap. Forget about the other 3 million files. We've given you everything we have. We went through all of it. We gave you everything that we were supposed to. If we made an error, it's because, we were time crunched, and we'll resolve our errors over time. But, there's privileged information. You can't have the privileged information. And we got to prep for a fight with Iran. So that's going to be the end of this thing. Now, this was interesting. This was reported by The Independent, although it was originally from, I forget which. It's on the next slide. But Trump DOJ released only 2% of Epstein files, despite flagging Elvis Presley and Marilyn Monroe study claims. And so this was from journalists at Channel 4 News, a UK broadcaster, viewed internal emails that showed federal investigations anticipated processing between 20 and 40 terabytes of data taken from Epstein properties. Maybe that include all the video cameras in the property that I guess later supposedly didn't exist. In 2020, investigators estimated the files totaled up to 50 terabytes, while in 2025, officials wrote that they were looking at approximately 14.6 terabytes of archived data. Now, this is some good journalism. This is an interesting scoop, if true. The outlet noted that so far, 3.5 million files have been released by President Donald Trump, totaling more than 300 gigabytes, which amounts to just 2% of the total data that investigators had discussed just last year. And so for everyone who thinks, hey, there's no smoking gun or government did a thorough job here, apparently, at first they were like, here's 200,000 files. Then they went, oh, we found another 3 million. Here's everything. Oh, it's actually 6 million. And here are the redactions, but this is the redactions amongst the files that we're going to acknowledge exist. And now, at least according to Channel 4 News, which is a UK broadcaster, there were earlier emails that referenced that there was 14.6 terabytes of archived data, of which what we got out is only 2%. So the idea that we've seen everything and that this is over, I think is an outrageous claim. There is, however, further investigations going on, which is promising. Lex Wexner was brought in front of, he had to do a deposition. Now, of course, in the deposition, he said, I was duped. Epstein's an incredible con man. I didn't see nothing. I never heard nothing. I'm ashamed. It's terrible. Listen, I was trying to run an honest lingerie business until the woke crowd came around and told me that fat women were attractive and destroyed my brand. But for years, I was platforming thin women who were doing their part of not eating and making sure that they looked really good in lingerie and making your girlfriend and wife feel worse for the fact that they would never look as good in these things. And I was making a fortune. And I was running an honest business. And the guy who I think Democrats claimed Wexner had given about $1 billion to Epstein's over the year, I had nothing to do with none of that. Now, couple things that are interesting about Wexner's deposition. Firstly, the Democrats walked out of there and said he's full of shit, but I didn't see the tapes. I don't know what took place. I don't think it was the best and the brightest, even of the Democrats, which is a league of not best and brightest. And so I can't really take the Democrats' word for it, and I'm certainly not taking Wexner's word for it. But this I thought was particularly shady, was that for some reason, James Cormer was not there. Now, I've already told you guys my conspiracy about James Cormer, which is he seems to be maybe the cover-up guy, and that he was the guy who supposedly investigated Joe Biden and essentially came back with nothing. And so when you got one guy leading the charge for supposedly the Biden criminal enterprise and he comes back with nothing, why is that the person that you would put in charge in the next giant investigation unless you're hoping to come up with nothing? Now, maybe he's an honest actor and he's just not that good at this. And so what they do is they go, hey, who's going to fuck this up? And they go, all right, let's put that guy in charge. But apparently he couldn't show up because he had a previously scheduled dental surgery. Now, I can tell you that sometimes I once needed a root canal, and it was a back tooth, so I told the guy, just pull it because it's cheaper. How's that for a Jew decision? It was like $1,500 to get the root canal or something and $500 to pull it, and I said, just yank it and let's move on with our lives. Now, it's possible, because let me tell you, tooth pain will make you, like, if you're a dude, tooth pain's embarrassing because you can't ignore it. Like, I remember there were 3 days I couldn't even really sleep. The thing's like throbbing, and you're just in the back of your head like, quit being a bitch, dude. It's your tooth. Like, you can't deal with a little bit of tooth pain, and it can be totally incapacitating as you just continuously berate yourself for feeling very ladylike and like you're not a dude and that you're not tough because a tooth pain is as burdensome as it is. But when you got real bad tooth pain, it can be a real problem. So it's possibly legitimate that he had something that was, it wouldn't be great if he just came back with like beautiful, shiny new teeth. He got like a full denture thing put in. What do they call it? Veneers. He got veneers put in, and he couldn't push off getting his veneers till after speaking to Wexner. It seems shady that he couldn't possibly rearrange his dental appointment to actually be at the Cormer deposition. But apparently it was only Democrats that were there. But next week we can look forward to Hillary Clinton being brought in and Bill Clinton being brought in. Of course, Hillary Clinton claiming she has no memory of actually meeting Epstein. And I guess we'll find out if that's true. Now, this I also thought seemed fairly promising, is that states are starting to take action, and you've got New Mexico approved $2.5 million for a Truth Commission. Now, I'm going to guess that they're not going to go out to the Zorro Ranch and find all sorts of bodies out there. It's possible. I'm going to guess that the Epstein team by now, if they were doing that, cleaned up the site. I think it's fairly shocking with everything that we know about Epstein that at no point in time was this property searched. And it seems like enough time has passed that if there was some sort of a lab there for, incubating babies and stealing their organs or whatever other crazy storyline you maybe read on your free time, my guess is that they're not going to come up with much. But I do think it is promising that some states are taking an interest and maybe they do investigative research that our current federal government is uninterested in because Donald Trump would like for this storyline to just go away. All right, and now we'll move on to AOC. But before we do, I'll come back. I'll take a couple comments, and let's thank one of our sponsors for today's show, which is YoKratom.com, home of the $6 kilo, only place in the entire world that you get an entire kilo of kratom for just $60. Two more things, though, that were just of interest in the updates in regards to Epstein is, one, there have been some senators and congressmen who have looked at the files and come out and gone, this is the most horrifying thing I've ever seen. Of course, they don't give us any of the specifics. They don't really tell us what exactly they saw that was so horrifying, which I will say that just that does kind of irritate me. I don't take stock in it one way or the other that they're just trying to juice the story, which usually I find when people don't give specifics, they're lying. In this case, maybe it's because I'm just so hoping that that this case gets muck cracked, that the general interest doesn't go away, and we end up really uprooting the deep state. So maybe I'm being too optimistic here. And generally speaking, when people don't give specifics, I think that's an indicator of lying. In this case, I give them a pass. I also think it's interesting the scattered headlines I've seen of people resigning from jobs and other countries potentially having investigations. You had the guy with the torture video out, was it UAE or somewhere out in the Middle East? He stepped down from his post. You had the CEO of Hyatt has stepped down from his post. You had that Goldman lawyer. She got in trouble. And for an entire, I mean, you could go the other way. You could go the Michael Tracy way with this and go, which was the joke I made in the intro, and go, isn't this terrible that honest CEOs that never did anything wrong have to leave their jobs because of the misinformation of the Epstein and the fact that the pack of wild hyenas on Twitter are going nuts and calling for justice? And so now you've got people that have nothing but a loose affiliation in these files who are just stepping down. But if I know anything about the elites, they like to keep a nice smile on their face and play the confidence game. And I'm going to guess that if these people are leaving their posts over what's there under the guy, well, it's because I want to see this organization be able to move on. I want to be able to get away from the embarrassment, the affiliation. Well, if nothing actually happened, play the Bill Clinton card. Don't apologize. Put a big old smile on your face, trumpet, and say, those are all nonsense allegations that had nothing to do with me. All right. Let's take some comments. Don't tempt a Jew meme coin. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, you'd guess if the info was privilege, they'd use whiteout, not a black marker. Yeah, well, I think they're really, listen, I think the privilege card was a way to try and delay this and hold it up in courts. I don't really know how they're going to argue that the information was privileged. Apparently, there is a category of privileged information which includes government conversations about how they want to handle something until they make a formal decision. I don't know how emails between individuals in the Epstein files can fall into the category of privileged information, which is lawyer client confidentiality, or the government category of privileged information of trying to figure out how they want to approach an issue. I'm not a lawyer. Maybe there's some other category of privileged information I'm not aware of. Adam Sutton, does anyone have audio? I think that's on your end, unless I've just been talking to myself for no reason. Again, how could I possibly be first, LOL? What is the score system? I have no idea what that means. Okay. At Real Adolf Hitler, Rob, if you had 5 minutes to grill Pam Bondi, what's your angle for the questioning? You know, I don't know that I do better than what you saw. I would do better, because I would do a better job of just making fun of her as she was clearly going off the rails and yelling. I would yell back at her. I would be comedic with it, and I would showcase how much of a lunatic she was acting. I have to give that some thought to what my opening question would be and what's like the line I would try and drag her down to showcase the fact that she's just completely lying and trying to cover up for what's going on, or trying to set her up for responding something that can be proven later to be a lie. And that's a great question. I wish I had thought about it beforehand. Rob, is the Fed part of the government? I think I'm assuming you're talking about the Federal Reserve, and while it's privately owned, it is, I guess it is kind of technically part of the government. Mr. Rude Boy, Fuentes is calling Dave and some others to debate Tracy. Who knows? Maybe Dave will down the line, and I bet if he does, he will destroy him. But at the moment, I think he sees Tracy acting in enough of a dishonest way, or has enough of a dishonest track record, that he's not interested in it. But maybe if Tracy keeps calling him out, it will happen, and I'm sure it will be glorious. Do you have a regular time you go live? I kick myself when I miss the intro. It hurts. Well, lucky for you, what you could do is rewind, watch the intro, and then, when I go to the comments, if I go to the comments, then you can go to the intro, then you could skip back to where I am, and then you could go back and watch the part you missed later on. But no, I mean, we're kind of on a set schedule of that. The show typically always happens on Wednesdays, and but we don't really have a set time. Maybe we will in the future. I don't know. All right, last comment, and then we're going back. I would say the Dow dips, so now we can talk about the Epstein files again. That'd be great. You can pull her back in and make that the first question of, now that the Dow has dipped, can we discuss this, or are we still supposed to be discussing how incredible the economy is, specifically when we brought you in and not Powell to discuss the Epstein files, which is directly the part of government that you're involved with, and we have no reason to really discuss the economy with you. But now that the Dow has dipped, which was your metric for not having a conversation about Epstein, can we now have a conversation about Epstein? All right, let's move on, and we'll start with this, which is, I'm sure you guys all watched some of the moments of AOC when she sat at that round table and clearly showcased the fact that why is this not going back onto the stage? Why am I having an issue here with this? Anyone got an answer? Producer man, this is your lane. All you got to do is click some buttons here and there. All right, here we go. Now we're back. Okay, producer man figured it out. You know, it's only been 4 years of me yelling at him, and for some reason, he's managed to tweak my screens, but it's okay. Listen, we're going up and up. We're on Tim Pool on Thursday. By next week, we're going to have budget, and this is going to be the smoothest show that ever existed in the human history of podcasts. All right, I'm sure I was going to do a whole segment of not too stupid to run for president, but we ended up playing a large majority of the clips I was going to cover on Part of the Problem. I don't know why we didn't play the Taiwan clip of AOC, because that's when she really fumbled the most. Set a record for the most times someone other than Joe Biden could say in 2 sentences and absolutely just say nothing, and then somewhat came back with an incoherent response. But honestly, that might be the toughest geopolitical question at the moment, is what should we do to keep China from taking Taiwan. I did, while scrolling through it, just come across this screenshot, which just looks like, I never saw The Devil Wears Prada, never saw that movie, don't even know what it's about, but this just looks like a shot out of a movie with the older CEO looking at her young protege. And I can't tell if it's admiration of her looking at AOC and just being like, man, are you a good bullshitter? Or if it's, I'm going to crush this chick if she ends up running. Can you believe that the other Democrats think that this is the lady that they're going with? Or maybe it's like a resent, like, you give me the perky tits of 20 years ago. If I still had that body, and by the way, Whitmer, from what I saw in that press conference, not a particularly smooth talker either. All right, moving on. We got a couple other topics to cover, and then we are going to go to the paywall. But, you know, I was going off about Fauci earlier, and we were somewhat excited for RFK Jr. because we thought perhaps he was going to go after the individuals for all the COVID nonsense that we've seen. Instead, we seem to be getting influencer Instagram content with him and other people I don't find all that interesting. I really don't know how Kid Rock became the guy. I guess it's, you go on Fox News enough and everyone thinks you're cool on the right. I don't know. But here we have RFK Jr. You know, I don't know what he's doing on the health front. I guess Tylenol causes autism. I think they rearranged the food pyramids so that you were not all just eating carbs all the time. He's out there talking about processed foods. And I'm not sure what else he's really done since he's in there. But he is out there making fitness influencer videos, showing off his old man Iggy Pop body. He's got some sort of a wrestling character going in that he will not remove his jeans ever for any reason at all. He gets in a pool, he's wearing his jeans. Gets into a sauna, he's wearing his jeans. Maybe he's got a Levi's deal or something, and that he wants to show off his sexy old man body, and it's got to be in jeans at all the time. I don't know what marketing department he sat down with that decided, hey, you're a jeans man. Maybe his legs are like robotic or horrifying looking. Maybe it's just filled with scars from his heroin years or something. I don't know why this man doesn't want to show his legs, but he's very committed to wearing his jeans. And for everyone that was excited for RFK Jr., it seems the best we're getting out of him is influencer fitness content. And so here is RFK Jr. working out with Kid Rock, and I guess we're all supposed to be excited about this. By the way, I see someone in the comments hating on Kid Rock's body, which I would love to do, but I probably look worse with the shirt off and I'm younger. So, you know, from an objective standpoint of like, if you're going to do the thing of doing a fitness video and have your shirt off, you should probably look good or don't do it. Like, that's why Bobby is wearing his pants, is because there's something wrong with his legs that he doesn't want us to see them. But Kid Rock wasn't as smart as that, and he could have gone with the sleeveless shirt, he could have gone with a full shirt, could have gone with a hoodie. So I agree with you that if you don't have a great body, you should probably cover it up. But I can't really hate on it because he doesn't have bitch tits, you know. There he is, cold plunge.
Where's Kid?
Oh, guys, this is top tier content right here. I mean, they really did their homework. Look at this. They're throwing in some humor that Kid Rock quit and just chilling in the pool. This is what's going to get us healthy, everybody. This is our government. It's a television show of shitty influencer content. Old men playing paddleball. Also, does that whole milk not look like the Come Down logo? And who drinks whole milk in a pool? Get in the pit and try to love someone. There you go. You guys feel inspired to get healthy again? Are you gonna go hit the gym after the show? All right, let's close it out with a couple comments on foreign affairs. So first is they're still pushing forward on trying to have peace in the Ukraine, figuring out what's going on between Russia and the Ukraine. It seems like we're just back in the exact same point where Russia's wants the Crimea region, and if Zelensky will just say, all right, you guys conquered it, we can call it a day and call it a war. And now I think there's only 10% left for Putin to conquer, and then there's still going to be, that Ukraine can't join NATO. But Zelensky's doing enough cocaine, he thinks he's winning the war. And I highlighted this one line because I just thought it was just so typical of government officials. Zelensky, after this, bitterly complained that it's not fair for Trump to take aim at Ukraine and not Russia, and suggest maybe it's simply easier for Trump to do this given he doesn't want to upset the far larger, more formidable country. Do you mean live in reality? Is your complaint with Trump that he's confronting reality, that Russia is a larger, more formidable country, and that we don't have the resources or the ability to go to war with them without it being a nuclear war, and us arming Ukraine did not work in terms of, I mean, maybe it worked from the perspective of weakening Russia and getting them bogged down over there so that you could have military engagements in Venezuela, Syria, and Iran. Maybe it worked from a deep state perspective, except that we spent a lot of money there too. But your complaint with Trump is essentially he's confronting reality, that, what are we at this point? 3 years into this war? What can we do at this point for Ukraine so that you think you're reconquering territories? When was the last time Ukraine conquered territories? How does this thing end peacefully without you walking away from what Russia has already conquered and saying that you're not going to be in NATO? How else do you think that this thing ends? And now you're upset that Donald Trump is trying to force you to confront reality that it's over and that you don't need to have more of your civilians die for no reason other than maybe you and certainly some of your pals are grifting on all the military money that's coming into your country. Or maybe you don't want the war to be over because you don't want to have elections because it's better to be the leader of a failing country where your civilians are dying than to get voted out. But here you have it. Man must be doing all the blow in the world. I guess that's a part of the military budget of what gets sent over there is, there's some of the cocaine that we supposedly blow from Venezuela. But Zelensky's complaint at the moment is that it's not fair for Donald Trump to try and pressure him. And the fact that Donald Trump is actually confronting reality in this situation, he's not saying that Russia isn't the bigger country or the formidable country. He's upset with Donald Trump for acknowledging the facts of the situation. And then we've got the latest from what's going on in Iran. And the following was the initial Iranian assessment of how the talks led by Witkoff and Kushner in Geneva went. Iran has said it has reached an understanding with the U.S. on the main guiding principles to resolve their dispute over Tehran's nuclear program. And I've already said this before, but when you get these preliminary, hey, we're getting it done, and we've decided on none of the things that we disagree with, but whatever this concept is of guiding principles for how we can resolve it, it doesn't sound to me like negotiations are going great. Because Donald Trump will declare that we won a war with Venezuela and we run the country when we don't. He'll make proclamations like I'll end the war in Ukraine in 2 days. We're gonna overtake all of Greenland. Donald Trump is quite comfortable making very grand statements. And I get that this statement was from Iran, but I saw it from the American side as well. And where we're at in negotiations is at the agreement on guiding principles stages. I read that and think, man, they're not even trying to sell this. Doesn't sound very promising. All right, one more sponsor, then we'll close out the show. Sheath.com. You guys know that I love sheaths. If you haven't stepped up your game yet, use promo code RYM. You get yourself 20% off the greatest underwear that's ever graced the balls of man. This stuff is quality underwear. If you haven't tried it, you're missing out. I still have my original pairs. I rail it all the time, and it's the best. Someone's asking, what am I looking at? And I think I'm looking at the slideshow so that I can read to you what's there. Coke's for horses, not for men, they say. It kills you, but they don't say when. All right, nice little poem about cocaine. John Bolt something. Zelensky didn't listen to Kamala. Russia is a big country. There you go. Even Kamala understood that situation. All right, guys, I'm going to move over to the paywalled at the moment. You can catch that at robbernsteincomedy.com. It's all $5 a month to be a subscriber. On today's episode, we're going to be discussing if Jordan's a diddler, if you can transition while still being on steroids, while I'm personally excited for AI, law enforcement's efforts in Minnesota against autistic women, and challenging libs of TikTok on immigration. And also, I believe my FBI presentation on entrapment is already up there, and if not, I will be getting up the original version, which you might prefer not to watch and wait to see live on Porch Tour. But I will be up on my website in about 5 minutes. Please come subscribe. It's all $5 a month, and you get the paywalled content. I will see you there.